So as you're returning, thinking about what you noticed as you read and what ideas or wonderings you have around action research design, go add that to the back channel, which there is a link in module 2 for that. Y'all started that last month, and we're just adding your thinking, your wonderings, your noticings to that. And then when we're sure everybody's back, we'll move on.
Okay, I'm watching.
Okay.
If you'll just remind them to turn their camera on, that's how I can tell.
Okay, don't forget as you come back in to turn your camera on so that Sandy and Bettina can let me know if you're here or not, because I can't see you because I see the slide. And if you have not added your noticings, ideas, or wonderings to the Action Research back channel, there is a link in module 2. Please go to it and add those now.
Okay, we're at 8 right now.
Okay, that's half of them. And it is 11:30, so hopefully everybody will be coming back soon. If not, y'all might have to go into the breakout rooms and run them back.
Okay.
As you return, please turn your camera on so we know that you're here. And any noticings, ideas, or wonderings, please go back to your agenda. There is a back channel in module 2 for the action research to add your noticings, wonderings, ideas. How are we doing? They must be going to check on people.
We have 9.
We may have lost some people.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we switch over to the Zoom, you know, they'll get a reminder to come back, and we off. It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
We're at 10. We're getting some.
Okay.
Sorry, we were having good conversation.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
You're gonna have time to do some more. If you haven't added to the back channel, just go to that now. The action research. It's in the module 2 on the agenda to add your ideas, wonderings, noticings. And I'm gonna give it about another minute, and then I'm just gonna move on. I can honor everyone's time. As we're waiting, does anyone want to share out something they noticed or some ideas or wonderings that they have? I'd love to hear them.
We were wondering how this is going to look if we end up going virtual at some point, and how we're going to collect our data if we are virtual.
That's a good question. Our boss always likes to say pivot. You just have to pivot. No, but you may have to adapt it to meet that issue, or you may have to put that question on hold and have a new question about, so you may want to be thinking about, what if we go digital? How could I adapt my question I have now, or would there be a new question? Because that's one thing with action research, one question leads to another question. So I wish I could just say, here's the easy button, but you may already be anticipating some things that you might need to, that could be a good research if it did go all virtual.
One thing I noticed in our group, we had some really good conversation and helped each other out with ideas and how we could, help each other, just gave some great ideas on questions to ask and how to bring in different strategies and different things to add in. And we found some of the research samples that you put up could help us in some ways. We saw some similar topics. So we were able to look and give each other, we're like, oh, I read this one. It goes along with what you're talking about. So I really enjoyed the smaller group and having that good conversation with everybody.
Good. That we're hoping that's the way it's going to move forward from now on, especially so that you can do that with each other, because it's hard to do action research by yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Stacy and Patty really, once I told them what I thought my action research would be, they started throwing out all kind of ideas to me. So I told them, I said, I have a whole page. They were talking and I was writing. So it is nice to, because I think it was Stacy that said that she had worked on shared reading last year with her teacher. So she gave me some great ideas. And I think she's going to even videotape and send some resources our way. So that's extra nice too.
Well, that's what
Yes,
this time should be
it's right.
for y'all to network and to be able to share. Good. And one thing I want to say, you may have a long list. Keep that list, because as you start trying to collect data and things, it will take you the pathway that you need to go. So you may keep dwindling down or going, oh, that kind of connects back up to this one. So, it kind of gives you a roadmap. Any others?
In our group, we just talked about how it was good to see an example, because sometimes, when you can see an example, then it helps you kind of spur on ideas, and it helps you know exactly what, kind of reaffirm some of our thinking of, am I thinking about this the right way? And once we saw some of the examples, it was like, yeah, we're on the right track. So it was a little bit reassuring.
We need mentor tests to know what we're supposed to be doing, which is the same thing we need to think about our teachers and our children. When we're asking them to do something, do they really know what we're talking about? Making sure it's very explicit and clear.
My group helped me to see that I needed to narrow it down instead of looking at the impact of the Wharton Gillingham on the whole school, which would be probably very hard to do, especially with me in the classroom. Just looking at one grade level, and probably my grade level, since that's, the closest touch I have to them right now.
And that would make more sense for you, because you're there, you have the data. So that's a perfect idea. All right. So the learning target, I can draft an action research question. Now, I'm going to read aloud to you a little bit from this, but first I want you to look at a good action research question is: 1, meaningful, compelling, and important to you, because you're not going to keep sticking to it if it's not important to you. It needs to be manageable. It benefits students and teachers. It leads to action and improvement. It's authentic. And it does not lead to a yes or no answer. Usually it leads you to another question. So I'm going to read aloud from Conducting Teacher Action Research. Characteristics of good research questions. What constitutes a good teacher research question? A good classroom action research question should be meaningful, compelling, and important to you. As a teacher researcher, it should engage your passion, energy, and commitment. It has to be important for your personal and professional growth. It should stretch you intellectually and effectively. You should love the question. A good research question is manageable and within your sphere of influence. It is constant with your work. You can address it within the confines of your classroom. It is focused and not so ambitious, big, or complex that it requires extraordinary resources, time, and energy. A good research question should be important for learners. A good research question benefits your students by performing your teaching and the curriculum, by providing new insights about students and their learning, by broadening and deepening your perspectives, or by improving practice. A good research question leads to taking an action, to trying something out, to improving a teaching or learning situation, to implementing actions that can make a difference in the lives of students. No action without research. No research without action. Even in those situations in which the goal of the research is to gain deeper knowledge and understanding of a student, such as in a case study or a descriptive review, it is assumed that the ultimate goal of such acquired knowledge and understanding is the improvement of one's teaching or the advancement of student learning and or development. A good research question is authentic. You have to own it. You are not disembodied from the research. That is why I encourage the use of the personal pronouns I or we in phrases such as in my classroom or our students and the statements of the research question. When you own the question and acknowledge your subjectivity, you are more likely to invest yourself in the research. And lastly, a good research question doesn't lead to a yes or no answer. It is specific but sufficiently open-ended to facilitate meaningful exploration and to provide opportunities for deep and rich understandings of teaching and learning in the classroom. The question needs to be open-ended enough to allow possibilities to emerge. Responding to the more open-ended research question will more often than not generate multiple directions and further research questions. So the next learning target is I can create a plan for data collection. I want you to just read the slide and think about what you've been thinking you're going to be collecting and just kind of check off one or the other. You may even want to take a picture of this. And as you're looking at this, unmute and share what data you may have already collected from the quantitative side or the qualitative side, and maybe after looking at this, something you're thinking you need to add from one or the other. So after you've read it, just unmute and share what you're thinking.
I have already been collecting like the ratings and the scores from our MTSS screening, as well as their phonetics scores on their weekly or biweekly assessments. But I also plan on doing some more of the qualitative and going in and having photos taken or observations done to see how they're implementing and teaching it in the classroom with Fidelity.
Have that balance of both. Someone else.
I was thinking the quantitative I would use would be to see if the number of lap folders or the number of teachers begin decreases as we implement Orton Gillingham. And then I'm a little bit unsure, should I also include FastBridge or map data? How many pieces do you think are manageable?
Good question. I would try to have at least one other piece of data. You know, triangulating data is the best because that shows the patterns and it really solidifies if something's making a change or not.
Yeah,
Would you
and
use one over the other?
I'll give you my personal opinion. I would choose
Okay.
my universal screener.
Okay. Do you think using the number of lap folders is valuable data?
Well, I guess I would have to talk to you a little bit more about that because a lot of times they keep that lap folder and it doesn't go away until they've made a certain amount of progress. So I think your screener, especially with phonics, your screener is going to give you a little bit better judge of that. But I mean, you could certainly.
And the lap folder could be more
use
over
it.
on the qualitative side. That's just, that's showing what the teacher's thinking and maybe interviewing the teachers to talk about those students.
Mhm.
Okay,
And if it's you, you talk to yourself.
right.
And you know, because decoding and encoding go together so well, be sure you look at their writing because their writing's going to show if they're using that phonics.
Right.
Right. Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay.
Anyone else? I know y'all are getting tired. Well, I'd like for you to, if you have any more noticings, wonderings, any of that for the back channel for the action research, please do that now. And then we will look at those and get back to you if there's something that we think needs to be addressed immediately. But Sandy, do you want me just to go into module 3 or do you want to do that?
You just go ahead.
Okay, all right.
I'm right here behind you though.
Gotcha. Okay. But before we go into module 3, there is a link, but let me explain this. And since I have been clear as mud all day, let me see if I can do this well. There's a link for Action Research Partners. It says no more than 3 on here, but we have to have some that are 4. So you can choose over lunch what you want to do, but before you go to lunch, you need to go and sign up. So that group you were working with just a few minutes ago, y'all want to stick together, y'all go to a group and you all sign up in that one together. I have on that one, it's the Microsoft Team links again. If y'all don't want to use that, y'all can discuss during lunch how you want to go about doing that. You can go into that Teams meeting, say, no, we want to use Zoom, and then you can make up your own little Zoom group. But this will be your research partner for the year. So really think about who you want to work with. And it doesn't have to be, somebody needs to mute. You can hear a couple machines. You might, it's okay if it's not the same topic. It just may be a group that really keeps you thinking and questioning. And if you really, or you might want to work with a group because you're from the same district, whatever you want to do, that's up to y'all. Y'all are adults and you're adult learners, so we're not telling you what group to get into. But do not get in a group any larger than 4 because that just gets too unmanageable. And that would leave somebody maybe with just 2. Then if somebody gets sick or something, we just don't want to leave anybody hanging. Are there any questions about that? Or is that clear as mud like I've done everything else? Are y'all good with that? Okay, but we're not ready to do that yet because now we're going to go on to the digital handout again. Can y'all see this? Somebody say yes. Sandy, Bettina?
Not yet.
Yes.
My screen. Okay, now I can.
Okay. So here in action, in module 2, this last link is where you'll sign up when we break for lunch, but we're not breaking yet. And remember, you can use the Microsoft Team link that's there, or y'all can get together and figure out what link you want to use. Then Module 3, there is a link to a PowerPoint that looks very similar to what we've just gone through. And then it has all the materials you need to continue your search on your topic and digging deeper and about conducting action research. And you can still use these sample research designs that are up here that you looked at just a few minutes ago. You can revisit that back channel if you need to as you get more questions or noticing, so you can hold your thinking. But that's going to be for that. And if I scroll back up to our schedule, as you can see, we are at 11:45, setting learning outcome for independent study and closure. Then you will please go ahead and sign up for your research team before you go to lunch, so if somebody gets caught while they're going to lunch. Then at 12:45, that is your independent time to work on that Module 3 with your research group. Y'all are going to get together to do it together. Then you'll take a break. If you plan to meet your book club today, you would do it at that assigned time. If y'all made other arrangements, that's fine. And then don't forget to do the survey, which is down here at the very end of the agenda. Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions,